A lot has changed and a lot of good things have happened since the last time I spoke with Jen Spicher. She's CEO of Pro Volleyball Federation. Year number two just wrapped up. The Valkyries won it all, and it was a season where they had 45 nationally televised matches. We're going to talk about year two going into year three. And this is, of course, Jen Spicher. I'm Bryan Fenley, a volleyball broadcaster who has done indoor and beach at the network level. And I'm so thrilled to have this opportunity since we last spoke when things hadn't even started yet, year one. Lots to talk to you about, and I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thanks, Brian, for having me on. I'm excited to be here today.
One of the things I love about you, Jen, is that when putting forth this product and really from the foundation in the beginning stages, you always believed in what your team could do, despite people saying otherwise. When you start to see the array and the level of which things are being pulled off to your satisfaction and continuing to grow. How does that feel knowing that there were people that said, hey, this or that, but you continue to move this thing in the right direction and just to see your vision continue to be played out?
Well, I mean, it's obviously very gratifying, and I owe a lot of gratitude and thanks to my entire, my staff that do pull these things off. One of the things that we pulled off last year that was new was the draft. We put out that we were going to do the draft on the Monday before Thanksgiving, which is what we did. And, there's a lot of social comments and, my team sees them all. And why would you do it then? There's no, it's a holiday week. Well, the question is when would you do it if you don't do it then? Right? Because you've got the mid majors are just finished. You've got the selection show that just happened, right? You've got the ladies are home. It's a Monday. They're not necessarily traveling, right? Because they're literally just, you know, coming up on a holiday weekend and figuring out where they're going to go for the NCAAs. And if you do it after the NCAA Final Four, it's too late, right? So, we put it out that that was our draft day, and then all of a sudden, everything I saw was, well, where can we watch it? Where can we see it? Where can we stream it? Blah, blah, blah. So I said to my team, with 3 weeks left, right? The 1st of November, guys, we're going to do this live. And they all thought I was absolutely nuts. And, we were able to create a partnership with Stage Edge, and we did it remote, and we put Madison and Holly in a studio in Manhattan. And you know what? I thought it came off very, very well. And so that's just one of those, pushing my team through to a vision that we saw and we wanted to create, and it happened. And I have a very talented bunch of individuals that have come together and have the same passion for this league. And, that's, I think, the difference.
Holly and Madison both are incredible. I had a chance to work with Madison earlier this spring on a beach volleyball event, and obviously you can see the passion she has for your league and Holly as well. So you made this happen with not a lot of time in advance, and then to see the execution of it. When do you allow yourself to say, "Wow, we just did this. We did this draft, and we only had a finite amount of time to do it"?
Um, you really don't. Because right after the draft, a little bit that night, right? We were all sitting in Columbus together, so we had dinner, and we certainly patted ourselves on the back. But the very next day, we're getting after it again. We've got to start promoting all these draftees, and they're coming into camp in less than 5 days, and so that's the stuff that we just very quickly pivoted to.
When you see what the athletes are doing in terms of the reception they're getting, when you see the smiles on their faces, the way in which you've accepted them for who they are and allowed them this platform in the United States, there has to be a level of gratitude that you have for what you and your team are doing. How would you put into words the reaction that you get, not only from the fans, but you're right there, grassroots, with all of these players to give them this opportunity and to see how they are thriving, how much they're enjoying the product. For you to see that, how does that sit?
Well, that's my why. That's why I left a very successful, 28-year career in the staffing world. And it's why I took the risk to build this, to be and lead this team in building this. It's why our team stays together, and continues to deliver on the promises that we made to these athletes. And, every time I sit with them, whether it's at a match or I see them at a game or they're attending a game and I happen to be there, that's the gratitude that I get. I get it from them as the thanks and we know what you've done for us and we appreciate it so very much.
When it comes to going from one year to another, there is a level of, as you described, with the staff and a lot of the things that went really well, there's a level of continuity that I would think is the fulcrum of what this league is all about in moving it in the right direction. But what is it that then would lend yourself to say, hey, let's try something different, like you did with the draft? What goes through sort of the ethos of those rooms, those meetings, those conferences where you're talking with staffers and you're like, this is something we're going to take a risk on that hasn't been done. We like the continuity, but what has to be under the category of what it would take to take that risk and when you want to do that?
Well, we do a season debrief with every single team as a whole. So, in fact, I just was a little bit late to this conversation because we were just on a debrief with the Columbus Fury. And we do each of the teams, and then we do each of the groups. We do a debrief with the team presidents. We do a debrief with the coaches. We do a debrief with the referees and the scorers and every single nuanced area, the partnership sponsorship team, the ticketing team. And those debriefs create a things gone wrong, things gone right. Ideas are shared with the league about how we could look at things differently or move things in a different direction. We just had an LTN, our production company debrief. And one of the things that I shared with them is, and this is, something we're thinking of for next year is you've got two technical timeouts on a national broadcast at 8 and 16. You've got two team timeouts, and then you've got two challenges, right? That's what, like 8, 10, that's 10 interruptions a set, right? Do we look at potentially removing a challenge and or a timeout when you have a national broadcast? Well, I don't want to treat the games differently, so we would have to have the same technical timeouts for every match, whether it's national or not, right? And then you have to look at the fact that, well, what if a team goes 0 and 4? The technical timeouts at 8, they don't want to blow their only timeout at 4 zip, right? So there's things that have to be considered. We did this last year with moving the R2 to the scores table. And, a lot of people on social kind of, didn't like it. And I can tell you that we had the R2 back on the floor for the championships. Obviously, for a match for a million, it's too important. But we didn't have any less net calls. We didn't have any less net challenges. In fact, we had more. And she was, excuse me, the R2 was right there. I mean, this is, unfortunately, it's just human error. And so, but that was one of the technology challenges that we changed in year two. And, we're looking at it for year three. We may put the R2 back. We may keep him behind the scores table. But there were some oddities this year that happened, but overall, our challenges were quicker as a whole this year than they were last year.
Beyond what you were just talking about with the amount of television breaks, in the mind space of Jen Spicher, what else could we see that would be unique and innovative? I mean, that is at the basis of what you guys are all about. But going into year three, you've got a lot of history now, year one, year two, a lot of things to take a look at. And then you're seeing obviously the YouTube numbers are rising, people are tuning in more, the advertisements and all of that. It's all moving in the right direction. But then going into a year three, beyond that which you just talked about, what else could we potentially see that could be
Well,
unique?
our partner in Bolt Six, we're asking them to get more creative, and they have. And they teased it a little bit at the championships with the percentage of where the sets were going and where the serves were going, right? We can also now do serve speed and jump height. And we're gonna, weave those into our broadcast to make it more exciting for the casual fan and the volleyball crazed fan to be watching our matches.
Beyond the matches, you also have a lot of content that showcases the players behind the scenes. And I know you're releasing a lot of that out on YouTube. What goes into putting out those type of productions as well?
Well, it's a team of people that fly into each of the markets and sit with the teams for probably 2, 3 hours before the match during their serve and pass. Obviously, you saw one on Morgan Hens. That was a 20-minute longer video about our national team libero and also the libero of the year for the Pro Volleyball Federation. I thought that was a fantastic piece. But yeah, we did a PVF revealed for each of the 8 teams. The Orlando team was just revealed, I think, last Thursday, and Atlanta's video will be released on Friday.
With that said, and that's another teaser, and I love the fact that we're getting some of those teasers in because this is obviously good marketing for Pro Volleyball Federation. And Jen Spicher is with me. She is CEO of PVF. I'm Bryan Fenley, a volleyball broadcaster, do other things with other networks, broadcast wise. To see what year two into year three is going to be like, that then beckons the question with all of these wonderful ideas. When does Jen ever get time off? Will you even possibly ponder the fact that, hey, maybe I'll take 12 hours off because knowing you, every day it seems like you're on a different flight.
I'm not actually traveling that much right now, right? At the end of the day, I was able to take a little bit of downtime right after the championships that week, and then of course over the excuse me, the Memorial Day weekend, I was away. But yeah, I mean, it's a job that just it never stops, right? You're already pushing to meet deadlines. I mean, we're talking to our production company about renewing. We're talking to TV deals about renewing for season two and sponsorships and partnerships and obviously the contracts are coming out and the players have to resign and all of that is going on behind the scenes now to prepare for year three.
With year three and all the storytelling that you're doing, whether it's in match or with the other content that you're releasing and that you teased, how much do you think that storytelling can really bridge the gap and bring a ton more people into knowing about Pro Volleyball Federation and how amazing these women are?
I think it's key. And it's an area that because we've been such a small league team, but we're, small but mighty. I've said that many times. We need to key in on that area. And the PVF revealed that whole kind of series is exactly what that's all about. And then going into next year, we're already, mapping out specific players that we're going to do more pieces on, like we did with Morgan. Um, and I think that's the most important thing that we could do going into year three is making people care about our athletes.
How have you let your athletes know, and I know you've done this better than anybody, let them know how much you personally care about them?
Well, I mean, I stay in touch with most of the athletes on a regular basis. I mean, they've all got my phone number, which is maybe good or maybe bad. Um, but they know I care. They know been in their shoes to some fashion. I was never at their level, but I've played the game and I have a love of the game and I played the game until I was 6 months pregnant with my oldest son. Um, and I think it shows in the work that we do for them and the work that we do for the teams and the fact that I don't go to bed at night without every email being read and usually answered or every text being answered because that's how I'm wired. People ask me a question and I try to find the right answer for them. And I think that it shows in your day-to-day work how much you do care by your how you show up and how you respond.
How you show up and how you respond. And a lot of times I've seen that you've obviously done speeches in front of large audiences and you're really hammering home what Pro Volleyball Federation is all about to folks that are just kind of learning about what's going on here. When you're organizing these speeches and you're getting people, you're bringing in a new audience and you're up there in front of folks, what do you really want to make sure you get across?
I just want them to understand what the league is all about, right? How the business model is, why would we do something like this? Why it hasn't been done, successfully in the past, right? And one of the things that I continue to share is we don't have a big brother. I mean, look what happened today with the AU softball league, right? I don't know if you've seen the headlines,
No,
but
no.
the MLB is investing in the Pro Softball League for Athletes Unlimited. We don't have a big brother in the United States. We don't have an MLS. We don't have an NBA. We're out there leading, and we will continue to do that and continue to, invest our time and efforts to make this Pro Volleyball Federation the success that I know it can be and
What's
already is.
it is. What's the best compliment about the league, about you, about your team that you've ever received? Not to put you on the spot, but I'm sure there are some things that you can hold on to that really resonate with you.
I pay attention, like I said, my team pays attention to social media, and I think overwhelmingly people are really, really happy with our production, both on TV. I think Billy Stone, our partner at CBS, probably said it best. The production is second to none, and the fact that we had an All-Star game this year, first ever, second season, we pulled an All-Star game off, and we had just under 500,000 people watch that game on a random Saturday afternoon in February, right? We had 441,000 people watch that game. And if you just for comparison's sake, the NWSL in their 11th season on a championship game had 300 and I think it was 85,000 in 2022. And so for us to do that, for the league to accomplish that, for the players to get that kind of exposure was really exciting. And I thought that not only did Paul and Holly do a fantastic job and Mads on the sideline, but I thought the players did a fantastic job of putting on a great show. And, people are always, concerned about all-star games that nobody wants to play hard because they don't want to get hurt and you're not going to be competitive because nobody wants to get hurt. And well, you know what? I've gone back and watched that match a couple times. Nobody was sandbagging as far as I could tell.
How often when you watch matches from a season, from a specific event, from a team, what do you, other than that, what else are you looking for that you want to make sure happens?
Well, I'm looking for the little things like, there's a couple matches last year where the mic wasn't on the floor and it made a significant difference. And so things like that is what my team has to pay attention to. Right? When I watch a match, I look at the excitement of the fans, right? I look at the joy of the players. I look at how competitive they are when they block the other team or when they, make a phenomenal dig and they get a ball over. I mean, all of that is just it's such a joy to watch. That's my happy place. If all day I'm dealing with fires, which is usually how it goes, and then between 7 and midnight, I can watch a game at 7 and then watch another one at 10 because they're on the West Coast, then that's a happy place for me.
We know you're in a great place, and we know there's nothing else you'd want to be doing right now than doing exactly what you are doing. You are perfect for what the role entails, and they're lucky to have you. Jen Spicher with me. I'm Bryan Fenley. Jen, thanks so much for the opportunity to have you on, and I know you got a lot of exciting things going up and cooking up. So thanks so much for a couple little teasers there going into year 3. Appreciate you again for making the time.
Thanks, Brian, for having me. I do appreciate it.